secret to becoming a great video editor isn't about your software. It's about one simple thing. All over the place, people are debating the best editing software. Premiere Pro is the best. Davinci Resolve has the best color grading. Final Cut is so much faster. Although some of that stuff may be true, here's the reality. None of it matters. People get so obsessed with finding the perfect tool that they think is somehow going to unlock some secret to amazing videos. But here's a little secret that they don't tell you. Editing software is just a tool. Think about it. Editors used to cut films by hand. No fancy software, no instant previews, just a razor blade and a lot of creativity. And yet, they still created some of the most iconic films in history. Why? Because they understood it wasn't about the tool. It was about how you used it. It's the way you think, the way you make decisions, and the way you approach the footage that's given to you. That's what gives it the personality. Editing isn't just about clicking buttons or dragging clips around, even though that's what you do. It's about decision making. Every single time you sit down to edit, you're making hundreds of tiny decisions. Should you do a quick cut here, or should you let that clip extend on a little bit further? And don't even get me started on the amount of decisions for what kind of sound effect you want to use for specific parts. The software doesn't make those decisions for you. Now, unless you want to use an AI editing software, and still, it's not the best result. And I know you can tell. The real editing software is the God-given one up in your skull. And whether you're working with Premiere Pro or a simple one like iMovie, it's your brain that drives the narrative. And when you approach editing with this type of mindset, you stop getting caught up in what's the best editing software to use? What can I do with this? And what can I do with that? You mainly start to focus on the more important question. How do I want my audience to feel? Think about your favorite films or videos. They weren't memorable because of the editing software they used to make them. They were memorable because of the thought behind every single cut, and every sound effect, and every transition, and music. That is what makes editing an art form. And that is where the personality shines through. You're shaping an experience. You're creating a rhythm, a flow, a sense of tension or relief. Think about it this way. When a film editor cuts a scene, they're thinking about how that decision will impact their audience's emotions. Does the pacing make you feel nervous? Is the shot too long, leaving you to feel uncomfortable? Or does the timing hit just right to pull you in emotionally? And you don't need high-end editing softwares to make those decisions. A well-timed cut, a perfectly placed sound effect, or a subtle transition can be all you need to create a powerful moment. It's not the software, it's the mental process that goes behind every decision. And here's a crazy thing that happens when editors get too focused on their software. They drown in features. Let me explain. Every time a new feature is released, whether that's a cool plugin or an AI tool, editors feel the pressure to use them. And I've fallen into this trap as well. They want to learn it and incorporate it any way they can into their videos. But what happens? You start to focus more on the tool than the edit itself. Instead of really focusing on your decision making, you get caught up in learning every single feature, and your edits start to lose their impact. The key here is simplicity. Sometimes the best edits are, you could have guessed it, the simplest ones. A quick cut, strategic fade, or a perfectly timed zoom can have just as much impact as an elaborate visual effect, if you understand the purpose behind it. Yeah, the software can overwhelm you with many options. And you've probably heard this a lot, but the smartest editors know that less is more when it comes to making impactful decisions. If you focus on developing your skills in decision making and storytelling, you'll be light years ahead. no matter what software you use. So if it's not about the software, what's the best way to become a better editor? The answer is simple. Practice your brain. Editing isn't just about learning how to cut clips and adjust audio levels. It's about training your mind to think in terms of storytelling, pacing, emotional impact. Here's a challenge for you. Next time you sit down to edit, forget about the features, forget about the fancy transitions. Instead, ask yourself this: how can I make this moment more emotional? What does the audience need to feel right now? And what decisions will make this story stronger? And you'll start to realize it doesn't matter whether you're using Premiere or something simpler. It's your thinking that drives the edit, not the software. At the end of the day, your editing software doesn't matter, because what does matter is the way you think and how you apply that thinking to your edits. I'll see you at the next edit.